It all started with a dare. My name is Leo, and my friends are Mia and Sam. We always tried to be brave. We loved scary movies and spooky stories. One hot summer night, we were looking for an adventure. Sam pointed to the old house on the hill. Everyone called it Blackwood Manor. People said it was haunted. They said lights flickered in the empty windows and strange sounds came from inside at night. No one ever went near it. I dare you to spend one night inside, Sam said, a big grin on his face. Mia and I looked at each other. We were scared, but we couldn't say no. A dare was a dare. So we grabbed our flashlights and some snacks. The sun was going down, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The walk up the hill was quiet and a little creepy. The path was overgrown with weeds, and thorny bushes grabbed at our clothes as we passed. Blackwood Manor stood at the top, dark and silent against the fading light. It looked bigger and scarier up close. The windows were like empty black eyes, watching us. The paint was peeling off the walls, and a broken fence surrounded the yard like a row of crooked teeth. We knew we had to go in. We had to prove we were brave. The front door was huge and made of dark, heavy wood. It had a big iron knocker shaped like a gargoyle's face. Sam reached out a shaky hand and pushed the door. It made a loud, long creak that echoed in the silence. The sound made my heart jump into my throat. We stepped inside, and a wave of cold, musty air hit us. It smelled like dust and old things, like a place that had been forgotten by time. The door slammed shut behind us with a loud bang. We all jumped. It was just the wind, Mia said, but her voice was small and trembling. We were trapped. We turned on our flashlights. The beams of light cut through the thick darkness, dancing across the room. We were in a large hall with a grand staircase. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling like ghostly decorations. The furniture was covered in white sheets, making everything look like lumpy ghosts sitting in the dark. A big dusty portrait on the wall seemed to watch us. The man in the painting had cold, unfriendly eyes that followed our every move. I tried to laugh, to pretend I wasn't scared, but the sound got stuck in my throat. This was a bad idea. A very bad idea. We decided to explore the first floor. We had to stick together. That was the rule. Our flashlights made long, wobbly shadows on the walls that seemed to twist and dance as we walked. Every step we took on the creaky floorboards made a new noise. Creak, groan, squeak. It was like the house was talking to us, telling us to leave. We walked into what looked like a dining room. A long table was set with old dusty plates and glasses, as if someone had been waiting for guests who never arrived. A single dead flower sat in a vase in the center of the table. Suddenly we heard a noise from upstairs. Thump. It was soft, but in the dead silence of the house, it sounded like a drumbeat. We all froze, our eyes wide. "What was that?" Mia whispered, grabbing my arm. Sam tried to act brave. "It's probably just an animal," he said, but he didn't sound very sure of himself. We stood perfectly still listening. Silence. Then we heard it again. Thump, thump, thump. It was a slow, steady sound like someone was walking heavily across the floor right above our heads. My whole body was covered in goosebumps. We were not alone in this house. Then the whispers started. They were so quiet at first, I thought I was imagining them. It sounded like the wind sighing through a keyhole. But then it got louder, clearer. It was a soft hissing sound that seemed to come from all around us, from the very walls of the house. We couldn't make out any words, but the sound made my skin crawl. It was a cold, sad sound, full of secrets and sorrow. We huddled closer together. Our flashlights pointed in every direction, trying to find the source of the noise, but there was nothing there, just empty rooms and shadows. We wanted to run. I wanted to scream and pound on the front door until it opened, but we were frozen by fear. The thumping upstairs stopped, but the whispering continued. It felt like the house was alive, and it was watching us, playing with us. Sam pointed his flashlight at the dusty portrait in the hall. "Look," he whispered. For a second, just a tiny second, I thought I saw the man in the painting smile. It was a cruel, thin smile. I blinked, and it was gone. His face was back to its cold, stern expression. Was I seeing things, or was the house trying to drive us crazy? The fear was getting worse. It felt heavy, like a blanket we couldn't shake off. We decided to go into the living room, hoping to find a place to sit and calm our nerves. The room was filled with more sheet-covered furniture. In the corner, there was a grand piano, its keys yellowed with age. As we walked in, Mia let out a small gasp. She pointed her flashlight at the wall. "My shadow," she said, her voice shaking. "Look at my shadow." We all looked. Her shadow on the wall was tall and thin, just like it should be. But as we watched, another shadow seemed to detach from hers. It was small and hunched over, and it scurried across the wall before disappearing into the darkness. We all screamed this time. There was no explanation for that. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't an animal. It was a shadow moving on its own. We backed away slowly, our hearts pounding like crazy. The air in the room suddenly became freezing cold. I could see my own breath in the beam of my flashlight. We were all shivering, but it wasn't just from the cold. It was from pure terror. The whispering sound came back, louder this time, and it seemed to be laughing at us. A high-pitched, chilling laugh that echoed through the empty room and seemed to drill into our ears. Suddenly, the piano in the corner began to play. One single high note rang out. Plink. The sound was sharp and loud in the silent room. We spun around, pointing our lights at the piano. The lid was closed and covered in a thick layer of dust. No one was near it. How could it play a note? Then another note played. Plink, and another. Plink, plonk, plink. It was a slow, creepy melody, like a child's nursery rhyme played all wrong. It was a song for a nightmare, and it was being played just for us. The keys were moving up and down under the dusty lid, played by invisible hands. We had to get out. The dare was over. This was not fun anymore. It was real. We turned and ran out of the living room, tripping over our own feet in our panic. We didn't care about being brave. We just wanted to be safe. We scrambled back towards the front hall, our flashlights bouncing wildly and creating a chaotic light show of terror. The laughing and the piano music followed us, growing louder and more frantic. The whole house seemed to be screaming at us now. We reached the front door and threw ourselves against it. It wouldn't budge. It was locked. We were trapped inside with whatever was haunting this horrible place. Panic set in. We pushed and pulled at the giant wooden door, but it was no use. It felt like it was sealed shut with iron. The creepy piano music stopped, and an even more terrifying silence fell over the house. All we could hear was the sound of our own panicked breathing. "What do we do?" Mia cried, tears streaming down her face. Sam was banging his fists on the door, shouting for help, but we all knew no one could hear us. We were alone, trapped in the dark with the ghosts of Blackwood Manor. I felt a cold dread creep over me. We were never going to get out. Then we heard a new sound. It was a soft shuffling noise coming from the top of the grand staircase. We slowly turned, our flashlights shaking in our hands, and pointed them up into the darkness. At the top of the stairs, a small figure stood. It was a little girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old. She was wearing an old-fashioned white nightgown and holding a teddy bear. Her face was pale, and her eyes were large and dark. She wasn't a shadow or a whisper. She was standing right there, looking down at us. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The little girl smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was a sad, lonely smile. "Will you play with me?" she asked. Her voice was soft and echoed in the big hall, the same voice as the whispers we had heard. "I've been so lonely." Sam, Mia, and I were too scared to speak. A ghost, a real ghost, was asking us to play. My mind went blank. What do you say to a ghost? The girl took one step down the stairs, then another. The shuffling sound was her bare feet on the old wood. She was coming for us. We were going to be her new playmates, forever. Just as she reached the middle of the staircase, we heard a loud click. The front door behind us swung open on its own. A cool breeze of fresh night air rushed in. We didn't wait to see what would happen next. We didn't say goodbye to the little girl. We turned and bolted out the door as fast as our legs could carry us. We ran down the hill, never looking back, the sounds of her sad, lonely laughter chasing us into the night. We learned something that day. Some doors are meant to stay closed, and some dares are better left undone, especially when the ghosts are just looking for new friends to play with.